I'm going to talk about some things today that I hope that y'all are familiar with, at least a little bit, so that the references make sense. If not, I will give you a little background as we go. The pursuit of happiness has to do with the rebel theme, because I feel like so many of us rebels are really so dedicated to our mission that sometimes we struggle with balance. So when I was tasked with the topic of rebelling and how to talk about that, I could have gone in 50 million different directions, but I thought probably one of the things that we all struggle with the most is how to go after what we're really looking for and stay happy while we're doing it. So as you can see up here, I've got John, May, Andy, Amelia, and Andy, and these guys are the epitome of cool. And what I think really defines a rebel and what makes a rebel cool is that they're just really certain of who they are. Without any wavering, they have a belief system, they have a personality, and they stick to it. They don't ever hold back from that. So having that level of comfort just makes them cool. It makes you want to be around them. It makes you want to know them because they just have this passion and this way of being, and they're not afraid of that. And then, you know, there's other folks like me. That would be me in these pictures. I think I was in kindergarten or first grade around that time, and I'm not sure that I was the cool rebel. But I was certainly into being myself and costumes, which for those of you that know me hasn't changed much. And I've always been comfortable just kind of going after that, being an attention seeker, being somebody who goes against the grain. So about 5 years ago, I made this dramatic entrance into the scene and started pursuing my own little rebellion. Last night I was at U of H. I was inducted into the Wolf Center for Entrepreneurship Mentor Program, which did not have a very strenuous application process. They didn't really vet me at all. They just said, hey, you want to do this? You've got a great resume, sign her up. So they had this big ceremony, and I got to meet my mentee for the first time, a very shy girl that I'm excited to corrupt. And she, after the ceremony, it was a big production, and so I only got about 5 minutes with her, and during that 5 minutes, I was just spewing out all these questions. And one of my biggest questions for her was, I mean, she was so sure of everything that she wanted to do and what she was telling me. And I said, have you always wanted to do this? And without hesitation, yeah, oh yes, I have wanted to own my own business since I was a kid. And then finally I stopped talking long enough for her to ask me a question, and she said, well, what about you? Have you always known that you wanted to do this? And I looked at her and I said, oh no, my old boss just pissed me off, and the next thing I knew, that Monday, I quit on a Friday, I started my business on a Monday because I just wanted to show him what I was made of. And then I thought about it later, and she probably thinks I'm crazy. But I really did that. I just stopped on a Friday, started on a Monday, and I really did it because I just wanted to prove a point. And that's kind of been my history with business ownership. So I guess you would say that I didn't start out as an entrepreneur from the get-go, but I did start out as a rebel from the get-go. So I started my business 5 years ago, and I'm going to try not to focus on that. I want to talk more today about what's next, but I have this word up here, sh5, and I don't know if you guys have seen the 55 video from back in the day, but that's the way I say that in this voice. And it's shit that I've learned in 5 years, which is a lot. 5 years has been a grand adventure. So the key things that I've kind of taken away from business ownership that kind of caught me a little bit by surprise are that the people that you love the most and that you care about the most will suffer in those first few years of business ownership. There was a year, I guess it was year 2 of my business, where I forgot my mom's birthday. There were other times where my best friend said, you can't ever take that phone out of your hand. You're always tweeting. You're constantly tweeting. Can you put the phone down and pay attention to me? And I think in that first year of business, you're just living in fear. And sometimes you're living in fear all the way through to the end. 5 years later, I still am a little bit afraid. But eventually, just knowing that those friends are going to be there for you in the long run and making sure to appreciate them and thank them. I had a dinner with my best friend and said, I just need to stop, buy you a bottle of champagne, and thank you for being there for me for the last 2.5 years and for putting up with everything that I've put you through in this wild ride. So the people you care about will suffer. Entrepreneurs are lonely, so surround yourself with other people who are going through the same thing and can understand that. Just making sure you have those people around you who you can relate to has really been important to me. And then the other thing is that my business 6 months ago is not my business today. It's a constant process of reinventing and rethinking and assessing where you are and where you want to go. And that changes with every single new hire that we have. That changes with every new client we have. That changes with the dynamics of the city. It's just constantly evolving. And so having to rethink that, I mean, I thought I wrote a business plan and then I would just go and follow that business plan, and the business plan changes on a daily basis. And then there's 2 really big goals, or 2 really big things that I've learned. And the one that's felt the best is figuring out who we are. This is our mission statement. It's to shock, to awe, to lead, to be the agency that changes minds. And what that means to me, or to us, that we think about every day, is that we're trying to do things so completely unexpected that we draw in an audience and cause them to stop, to notice, to listen, to act, to do something. The second part, to lead, is just to be ahead of the pack, to show others how it's done, to be ahead of the trends, to be racing in front of them. And then the last part is probably the most important to me. It's to educate and to shift perspectives and to change the way a person looks at something, to really change their mind, to show them a different way of looking at something. So the greatest thing that we could have possibly learned is who we are, and to be able to hang that on our wall and live by that mantra every day. And then the next thing is that what resonated 5 years ago, what resonated yesterday, is not what resonates today. And so reassessing that every day, and that's where I'm going to go from here on in the presentation. This is something that you might have seen on the internet before. You might have seen it on my Facebook page if we're friends 5 years ago. I may have posted it more than once. One of my employees this week asked me if I actually wrote this, if I was the person that started this trend. And the answer is no, but 5 years ago, people probably thought I did write it because I shared it a lot, and it was something that I clung to in the early part of my business development because I was scared. I wanted to be a rebel. I wanted to come out and be sure and confident and know what I was doing, but at the same time, I didn't really know what I was doing, and I needed to know that other people out there were thinking the same way that I was, and we're kind of this support network. So I lived by this, and I shared this a lot. And now I look at this, and I feel like it's fluff, and I feel like it's a little bit silly, And I read through these, and none of them resonate with me anymore. So I assessed what this meant to me and why this was so important back then. And what I kept coming back to is I just needed somebody to say, okay, these are like the 12 things that you need to be going through in your day-to-day actions. These are the 12 things that you need to be living by. I just needed somebody to draw it out and write it for me because I wasn't confident enough in what doing something differently meant, or what being this rebel meant, or what developing this business called Black Sheep meant. So I live by this, and now I want to write my own. I want to show others. It's cool. It's cool. A new way of looking at being a rebel. I feel like being unpopular has become a little bit mainstream. Being a black sheep or a rebel has become this trend in itself. And so I want to challenge you today to stop looking at the fluffy idea of being different or pretending to be different, and start standing up for yourself a little bit and start rethinking the way that you're doing things. So I don't know, how many of you in the audience know who Kid Cudi is? Okay, cool. So a few people, if you don't know, he's a rapper. You may have guessed that sort of by his vibe. He has a song called The Pursuit of Happiness, which is what my presentation is titled. And the song is about drugs. I'm not going to beat around the bush about that, but that's not what it means to me. If you don't listen to the words very carefully, there's just this beautiful chorus that over and over says, I'm in the pursuit of happiness. And then when he's not pursuing happiness, he's yelling out, I'm screaming out, fuck that. And he's thinking and objecting to anything that's making him uncomfortable or anyone who's telling him that he can't do something. And that, to me, is beautiful. That, to me, is what the people in this room who are tirelessly chasing creative passions need to be thinking about, is what do we object to? What is going to make us happy, and what do we object to? So I'm going to talk to you about 3 things today that I feel like need to be top of mind for everybody in the room. The first one, being busy is bullshit. How many people in the room would say they're busy? Oh my God, all of you raise your hands because I know you're busy. How many of you, when someone says, how are you, the first word out of your mouth is either you think it and don't say it, or it's busy? Because I've had to untrain myself to say something besides busy. And what drives me crazy more than anything is that now when someone asks me how I am, before I can even answer, they say busy. And they just know, they look at me and say, busy, huh? And I try to backpedal to give them another answer. And then the thing that gets me even more is that after that, they follow it with, oh, but being busy is good. That's good, right? It's better than the alternative. And in a sense, I get where they're going with that. The revenue is good. I appreciate the work. I want to be busy. I don't want to not have clients. But we've got to untrain ourselves from this being busy is good mentality, because it's not good to be as busy as we all are. It takes us away from people that we love. It takes us away from our clients because we're reacting instead of being proactive. It doesn't allow us to step back and be visionaries. It doesn't allow us time to stop and think or plan or create strategies, or to second guess what we're doing and think about it in a different way. So one challenge I have for you, stop saying you're busy and stop allowing yourself to be as busy as you are. And this is why I mentioned that my employees are in the room, because these 3 rules are all things that I'm really trying to do. I haven't mastered them. We are busier than we have ever been in our lives at Black Sheep. We're hitting a major growth spurt, and we're struggling with this. So it's really just top of mind for me, because people, when they ask me how I'm doing and I say, good, And they say busy, huh? It's a struggle for me because I don't want to be this busy. I want to be spending more time with my clients. I want to have more time to mentor my employees. I want to have more time to go to the gym, or to go back and look at things that we did a while back and wonder if they're still working. And being this busy doesn't allow me to do that. So one thing to think about, that's the first item on the 2014 manifesto for me. The second one is learn to say fucking no. Learn to say no. And you guys, I don't know if you're avid internet consumers the way I am. You've probably been reading a lot of articles about saying no. It's huge for me right now to say no. One of the biggest shifts we've ever had in our business was last December when we decided to start saying no to people that we didn't feel like were on the same page as us. We took 4 retainers that were kind of consuming our agency. They were our 4 primary accounts, and we chopped that in half and went down to 2. We decided to walk away from 2 major relationships that were supporting our business. And I remember this potential new client asking me in December how many retainers we had, because he wanted to know, if we were going to be too busy for him. And I said, well, it's an odd time for you to ask me that question, because just in the last week, we've walked away from 2 accounts and we're down to 2 retainer accounts. And they're substantial, but we're just in a different place right now. But if you ask me that question again in a month, the answer might be really different. And in January, we signed 7 retainer accounts. So taking the risk of walking away from those 2 people who we were battling with every week. We were trying to educate them week after week after week about what we did and why it mattered and why we were making the decisions we made and what we were actually doing. The amazing thing is that they hired us without really even understanding. And a certain period of time later, they still didn't get it. So taking that risk and saying, we just can't do this anymore, we can't work with someone who doesn't understand what we're trying to do, allowed us to welcome 7 major accounts, people that get it, people that are paying the right amount of money, people that trust us to execute our vision. So say no to the stuff that you don't want to do anymore. And that might take a lot of different forms. I know all of y'all aren't business owners, so that might be saying no to commitments that are burdening you or weighing you down, or saying no to the notorious people that ask to pick your brain all the time, or saying no to doing a project that's not really something that you're passionate about. Just try saying no more. It's really scary because you have to take that leap and wonder where the next source of income is coming from, or how the person might judge you. If you say no to something, there might be a guilt issue associated with that, but just try and say no and see what energy it opens up for you and where the possibilities go when you're committed to the values and the goals that you want. And the last one is try harder. What you're doing is not good enough. And this is really top of mind for me going into 2014. It kind of plays off the first 2 goals. If you're following the rules of committing to not being as busy and committing to saying no, it allows you the space to go after something that's really hard, that's really challenging. One of the things that I think is so important right now is showing up and doing instead of talking. We get a bad rap on social media and just in general for being people that talk and people that will tweet about something or share something and then not show up. This is especially top of mind for me because there have been some big city hall issues lately that people have been talking about and not showing up for. So I would say evaluating where you're showing up and what you might be talking about, and then how your actions are affecting or supporting those things or not supporting those things. One of the things that we're doing now with all of our clients, because we're such a small agency, is trying to amplify what we believe in through our clients. So we're implementing cause-based strategies for all of our clients. So in order to work for us, we're asking them from the beginning what they believe in and what they're doing for good, and how we can incorporate that into their marketing. And if they're not doing something like that, we don't want to work with them. That's one of our major criteria, because if we are able to put together a strategy that allows them to give back, it automatically amplifies what we're able to do as an agency. It gives us ambassadors all over Houston that are doing good, or all over the United States that are doing good things. So evaluate your work, evaluate what you believe in, and take a step back and try and figure out how you can spread that out more, how you can make that bigger, and go after the things that you're afraid of that are in line with your values. Try harder, get busier once you let go of the old stuff. And then just for fun, I did a full rewrite of the Rebels Manifesto. So we can flip through these pretty quick. But so the original rule was do the opposite of what you were taught in school. And my new rule is be creative and actually use your fucking algebra. Holy shit, that will surprise people, and surprising people is always good fun. We get a bad rap for not being math people. So stop not being a math person and surround yourself with mathematical mentors or whatever you need to do. Learn accounting. The second one is care not for the opinions of others. They're based on their own thoughts and fears. And I think that's bullshit. I think you need to care about the opinions of others and then share your views. Turn their opinions around, shift their thinking, change their minds, teach them what you've learned. Not caring is not good enough. The next one is study the work of other rebels, steal things from them, research with fury. That's one of those goals that I think, or one of those manifesto points that I just think is a bit fluffy. One of my favorite quotes from Whitney Johnson is, you can't see the end from the beginning when you play where no one else is playing. Commit to whatever you want to do, learn from those who came before you in other spaces, jump and figure it out on your way down. One of my clients, Angela Blanchard, has a great philosophy about the figure it out mentality. She likes to surround herself with people who may or may not know what they're doing, but they just have a figure it out mindset. And not only a figure it out mindset, but a figure it out and do it mindset. And I think that's what we all need to be living by. Forget about the competition. They're on a different path from you. Trends are for suckers. I say watch the competition. Don't do what they do, but learn from the mistakes they make. Watch their work and make better work than they're making. There's nothing we really need to do that isn't dangerous. John Cage. John was right. If it scares the shit out of you, you better fucking do it. These are the best things. There's no other option. Everything I've ever done in my entire life has been scary, has been worth it. Make a mess. I say flip that goal around, and cleaning up messes is often more memorable than making them. Be sure to do some of this. So look at problems that we're having in our community, in our neighborhoods. Look at situational things that are happening online and get involved with helping to solve those issues. Embrace your dark side. Your so-called dark qualities or labels are the source of great power. Blah, 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 blah. If someone asks, this is like a total rewrite. If someone asks to pick your brain, show them your dark side. Fuck that. Stop letting people ask you to do free work. This is something I get asked about brain picking all the time. A friend called me about 3 months ago and said, I need to pick your brain about something, yada, yada, yada. I didn't call him back. And then about 2 weeks later, I got an email from him. Hey, I just wanted to see if you got my voicemail. I need to pick your brain about something. I didn't email him back. A week later, he said, hey, I was wondering if you have any hourly consulting rates because I'd like to pay you to go to coffee with me because I really need some advice. And I emailed him back right away, and I was like, I sure do. Here's my rate. Let's go to coffee. And you know what? We went to coffee, and I gave him some great fucking ideas. He implemented the ideas a week later, and it cost him like $350. It was genius. Exercise your voice. Put your thoughts, ideas, and opinions out in the world, even if it scares the shit out of you. Whoa. Rewrite. Exercise your fucking body. Move away from your desk. It's possible to take care of yourself and achieve your dreams, and you'll probably do better work if your brain is getting oxygen. It's so true. Y'all, for the last 6 months of 2013, I did not exercise. I completely fell off the wagon. I was drinking wine every night. I was like in another era. And this January, I got everybody Fitbits for Christmas at our company. And we have gotten competitive, and we have joined gyms, and we are exercising every day. And I'll tell you, even if I have to go back to the office after exercising at 11 o'clock at night or whatever time it is, taking that break and going and moving my body and getting oxygen and getting a break and like pounding the stress out is so helpful. I had a client call me on the way to the gym about 2 weeks ago, and I physically could not answer her question. She asked me for an idea for something, and I said, you know what, I was basically just speechless. And I was pulling into the gym parking lot. I said, I'm going to go in here. I'll call you back whenever I get out. And it was magic. I went into the gym. I didn't think about her issue at all while I was in there. I just went through my workout. And I came out, and I called her when I got home. I was cooking dinner. And all of a sudden, I just had this clarity. And I had like 5 or 6 great ideas, none of which they actually used, but that's irrelevant. They were really good ideas. They were actually such big ideas that they didn't know how they would do them, and it was something that was happening the next day. But just spending that time moving and getting that stress out helped so much. Expand your horizons, leave home, visit other places, blah, blah, blah. Stop being so fucking busy. Busy isn't cool. Never limit your playtime. So my new playtime: jump on a lot of trampolines, draw, stand on your head, learn to do new things, talk to strangers, get the hell out of your comfort zone. Question everything. Get the answers you're looking for. So question everything, that's pretty common sense. But get the answers you're looking for. Are you your point? Stand up for the things you believe in. And if you don't know what you believe in, sit down and decide, and then stand up again, and then find a way to make your work intersect with those things. So I don't know if y'all noticed, but in the original manifesto, number 12 is just missing. So the missing link, this is what I say to plug into it. Say fucking no. Say no to clients. Say no to friends. Say no to the things you don't want to do or don't have the space to do. Maybe that's what the blank was for. Blank space, room to think. Follow your heart. Isn't that sweet? So my new rule is have a heart, give a shit, do more, give back, leave a legacy. Right now you're doing something amazing, but it's not good enough. You can do more, especially when you learn how to do the new number 12. And then I leave you with this, and this is just a really big, general, big picture, but I challenge you to take a step back, stop being so busy, and just decide what you need to do next. No couldy, wouldy, shouldy. Just decide to do something. Decide to do something this year that scares you. Decide to make some of these changes and challenge the habits that you've formed and the way that you're doing things, and do something new. Commit to something new. Thank you. Thanks for having me.